am I becoming love? That's a hard question to answer. Like, how do you actually evaluate these things? But consider your funeral. We are people by nature who are better at building our resumes than we are at writing our obituaries when it comes to the way we live our lives. Most of us are focused on what we're gonna accomplish and who we're gonna be, and very few of us think about what's gonna be celebrated about me at my funeral. We might mention the different accomplishments of their life, but where funerals really get important and significant and celebratory and emotional is when we start talking about how they loved, how they treated their spouse, how they treated their kids, the way they interacted in the community, all words that are connected to the Holy Spirit and the character of God. What we're talking about is end-of-life type stuff. And that's the vision of what it means to follow Jesus, is to live life in such a way that the last words that are said about us are the same type of words that are said about God. The life of love is stage 6, where we begin to live and look like Jesus. You begin to live like him, you begin to look like him, and you even surprise yourself by the way that you're reacting and interacting with the world around you. We have words of wisdom to offer the world around us if they would just slow down long enough to listen. If I were to pick a phrase that really embodies this phrase, I would use this from John Wimber, the founder of the Vineyard Church movement. He says, "We're all spare change in the pocket of the king. He can spend us however he wants." When you come to a point where you realize, I'm not the most important person on the planet. My problems and my successes are not what everybody else in the world is really concerned about. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 says this, "Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of church attendance." Nope. Walk in the way of love. Here's what I love about this passage. It doesn't leave us to define what love is. Here we see a definition of what true love is. Just as Christ loved us, and here it is, and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Love gives up itself for others. Love doesn't put itself first, its own needs, wants, and desires, but it props others up above itself. That's what love does. It's like the grandparent who's like, I'm gonna give you an extra piece of cake, even though mom hates sugar, because I just can't help myself. This is what stage 6 looks like, is we enter into this place of self-giving, but it comes from joy and delight and not pressure and expectation. Two characteristics of stage 6. And these two characteristics come from Hebrews 12, where it says, "For the joy set before him, Jesus endured the cross." He stepped through so that he could have what his heart truly desired and what the world truly needed. Stage 6 can be described as the place of selfless love. Okay, selfless love is when you can gladly give yourself away to others, when you serve in such a way that you just kind of don't even really feel it. All of us have these certain names or types in our minds that we struggle to forgive. But if we really want to understand the depth of our love, we have to consider the breadth of our forgiveness. How could you ever truly forgive these people? It doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable, but in our heart, we still forgive because it's the ultimate expression of love. Jesus on the cross, the ultimate expression of love, what was he doing? It was forgiveness, y'all. That's how we measure the depth of our love. It's limitless joy. You have a healthy detachment from stuff, status, and stress that allows you to enjoy the freedom of self-forgetfulness and gladly give your life to others. Because you're walking in forgiveness towards others, you actually aren't as attached to your stuff and your stresses and your status. And it doesn't mean that you don't still manage your money. It doesn't mean that you don't still try to do good at your job. It doesn't mean that you stop cutting the grass. Like, you still do things to take care of this life, but you do it differently because you're not driven and you're not overwhelmed and you're not anxious and you're not worried. because you have a healthy detachment from those things that then allows you not just to live at peace within your own self. How do we actually evaluate our joy? To test the depth of your joy, consider the breadth of your generosity. And here's why I say that, because what you're compelled to hold on to is where the boundaries of your joy lie. Jesus said it this way: it's more blessed to give than to receive. Our level of joy can be measured on what we're willing to give away. Our time, our money, our resources, our energy. As I mentioned before, becoming this type of a person, wholehearted in all that we do, is not something that just happens because we say a prayer or in a moment of supernatural power, but it happens through a process. It happens through a journey.